I just wanted to connect what we did last week with today, and as I heard you talk about, and I know it's not an easy thing, but from the grudging tolerance, or like the people that you've written about today, I'm guessing some of them it might be impossible, and it's okay. I'm just trying to see if there is a way for you to let go, right, of the feeling you have with for those people, and it's here, right? This is where we're at today. The letting go of that, very strong negative emotions, or actually not just one, but emotions as well towards them. So that's what we're going to do today, and I have a little something to share with you that is a bit special to me because it keeps happening in my life. So I find it very interesting that it keeps repeating itself, right? So regarding grudging tolerance, if you look in your booklet, page 21, there is this quote by Carl Rogers, but before I wanted to just read what I wrote, which is what I was saying earlier, but maybe it's easier to read what I wrote. So it says, grudging tolerance is the first step towards learning to let go. The idea is that if you can imagine yourself accepting someone, but not feeling especially close or loving or caring towards that person, maybe the next step, instead of having complete unconditional positive regard, would be to just let go of the feelings you have towards that person. Let go means, Frozen, let it go. She just gives up on everything, right? And just, this is who I am, right, basically. So kind of the same idea. So yes, letting go means not holding on, right, not keeping to an emotion or an idea. And for me, the biggest image I have of this is the wave. It's the image of a wave, because that's what I sometimes experience when I meditate. I feel the feeling, right, coming to me, and then I decide, do I keep it or do I let it go, right? So like the wave, right, that just goes over you. And sometimes it's easy to let it go. Other times, not so easy, right? And the other aspect of letting go is also the idea of control that we've talked about also with unconditional positive regard, right? Controlling how people should be, what people should like or do, and things like that. Accepting that the person that is making us angry or unhappy or uncomfortable, we can't change that, right? This is who they are, and we just gotta let it go, right? It's not gonna change anything anyway to want to control, because usually you can't control people. So, and the idea is to let the person be, right, the way they are. And this is what Carl Rogers wrote, and I was really touched that he admitted that it is hard to do, right? Because he literally wrote, that one was, Still a Way of Being. This is one of my favorite books by him, so I used a lot of quotes from that book. He wrote, in my experience, I have found that one of the hardest things for me is to care for a person for whatever he or she is at that time in the relationship. So even he says, right, it's a challenge, right, to do it, because actually I'm not sure why we want to change people so much, right, but why we want to control them so much. But anyway, so then he says, it is so much easier to care for others for what I think they are, or wish they would be, or feel they should be, right? It's such a natural thing, right, for us to do. To care for this person for what he is or she is, dropping my own expectations of what I want him or her to be for me, also dropping my desire, right, because sometimes it's a matter of desire, to change this person to suit my needs is a most difficult but enriching way to a satisfying, intimate relationship. So it is a great way to get to know people closely. Intimate doesn't just have the sexual connotation, right? It has also the closeness, being close to people. And so when I read this, to me, I was like, oh wow, even, the big guy, the one who created the PCA says it is difficult, right, to do this, to be there for others. But I do agree with him, the enriching way to a satisfying, intimate relationship, this is something I have experienced. And last week I didn't feel like talking about it because it was about my mom. But this week I feel like ready to explain to you why I know it is really a rich experience. I don't know how you consider your parents. For me, my dad has always been the super easygoing. Right? My dad is always like, you want to do that? Okay, do that. You don't want to do that? Okay, don't do that. My dad doesn't really put any pressure, at least on me. Right? I'm not going to talk about my brother or my sister. I'm not sure. Right? He's growing up. He's always been, do what you want to do. I will be happy for you. Right? So I've got a super easygoing dad. Right? On the other hand, my mom, surprisingly, when I was growing up, it wasn't the hardest part. It's when actually my grandfather passed away in 2002. And all of a sudden, it became really difficult to be my mom's daughter. I felt a lot of pressure from her, and I thought she was expecting too much from me. Like, I was her daughter, her psychologist, her friend, etc. I said, whoa, I'm just your daughter. Seriously. When it happened, I didn't realize this, right? If I had, I think it would have been okay. I could have said, Mom, sorry, just your daughter. If you need a psychologist, go find a psychologist, right? And so what happened is that I started being disappointed with her. And this is the matter of expectations and what I wanted her to be. I just wanted her to be my mother. And when things got really bad, I can't say I cut communication, but I lived in India. So internet connection was really bad, so I couldn't talk to her so often. And it felt like, such a nice, no more pressure on my shoulders. And so then I had time to think about this, right? Like, so what is happening, right? That's when I started understanding, oh, I'm not just her daughter, I'm this, and I'm that. That was my side, right? But then I realized that my mom is just a human being too. She's not just my mother. She needs a friend, she needs a psychologist, and that's when I realized that what she's doing to me is not fair, right? Because I'm her daughter. But what I'm doing to her is not fair either. Because I want her to just be my mother. But she's not just my mother, she's also a human being. And it was very interesting because I didn't actually say that to her. I just changed my way of being with her, right? So when she started using me as her psychologist, I would stop thinking about her as my mom, right? And I would just listen to her as a human being, right? And try to understand and ask questions. And it's incredible because she started telling me, oh, your way of being is different. What's happening? Why is... And so I was like, oh, is it a bad thing or a good thing? And she said, it's better for me, but I realized, is it okay for you? So without complaining to my mom about what she was doing, but by changing my attitude, she realized, what was happening. And step by step, she stopped doing this by herself, right? Because I think she realized by accepting her, she could also accept me and be more, realistic about the situation. And this was such an interesting situation, right? To stop my expectations. She's my mother. She should be blah, 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 right? Or my desire, I need my mom to blah, 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 blah. Once I could stop doing this and just look at her as a person, our way of communicating completely changed. And it was really, I needed it. Being your mom or your dad's psychologist, not a good idea. Not a good idea, people. It's too complicated, I think, right? So this thing, the enriching way, for me, is so true, right? I really felt how our relationship became bigger, richer, more interesting, and more loving also. Because I had that kind of a lot of attitude. Here we go again, So I wasn't very loving, right, sometimes. So very interesting, right? Like when you can kind of let it go, right? And accept that the person is a human being, and maybe the person annoys you a lot, makes you angry a lot. It can have a pretty interesting effect, right, on the relationship. So that's why I try to help you realize this, right, with the letting go. It's not easy. I was like meditating, walking in the mountains, simple life. So I had no busyness in my life, and I think that's another thing that makes it hard, right, to let go when we're so busy. So I'll stop here. Sorry. Regarding letting go, so for me, I think it's helpful when you can let go because you can be there for others and you can accept them the way they are. And the other positive aspect is that it's helpful to deal with emotions. And this is not something new, actually. It comes from some very old stories, and you find them in a lot of cultures. So I'm going to use one from India, basically. But I'm sure if you look into Japanese culture, you might find it. There's some from France. There are lots of... it's an idea, right, that people have used to create different stories. So the story I'm sharing with you today is with two monks and a woman and a river, right? So that's the three main aspects of the story. So please just watch it and then see if you can share what you understood. It's only 1 minute and 30 seconds, yeah? It's a really short, but I think it's well done with the animation. Basically, I wanted to share this story with you because my first reaction was the reaction of the young monk, right? Like, why do you help someone who's not friendly, who's rude, it's like, just let her be. But for the monks, it's who he is, right? Usually monks are there to care for others, and he's just unconditionally positive towards her. She needs help, he can do it, he does it, he lets it go, right? On the other hand, the younger monk, he's not unconditionally positive towards her, right? He's like judgmental. She's rude and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And then he carries, right, the feelings with him for several hours, and he gets annoyed, angry, and even shocked, right? In other versions of the story, he's shocked because the monk touched a woman. And, it's like, ooh, big deal, right? And in another version, the older monk says, she's just a human being who needed help, right? So this very interesting coming down to the fact that people are just people, right? And like not making all these differences and judgments about them. But anyway, so yeah, right? So the monk who carried the woman did it and let it go, right? I did what I thought was right to do, and that's it. The other monk, the younger monk carries, right, this event with him. And if you think about it, nothing's going to change because it happened, right? Whether he carries or he doesn't carry the event, it happened, right? So basically, what the story is saying is that what happened by the river didn't matter much. The monk made it into something big, right? Something to carry around. And I do think we tend to, no, I don't want to say, I sometimes do that too, right? I take a little comment or reaction and build it up, right? Like into, so why did he say that? And how come I didn't? I create this whole story behind something that maybe for the person was absolutely nothing, right? The person was tired and he or she said something that, shocked me or made me unhappy or, whatever it is. But the person maybe doesn't even remember or realize, right, what happened. But I am carrying it. And the only person who's suffering is me. The other person probably is like, what? Oh, what did I say? Oh, what did I do? Completely oblivious. They don't realize, right, what just happened. So this is, I think, the other side of letting go. Instead of carrying these emotions with you that build up, right? They become stronger and stronger. They become real, even, right? To learn to just go down, okay, I didn't like this. I might have to talk about it or explain it. But for now, I'm good, right? Letting it go so that it doesn't actually build bigger. Have you noticed how difficult it is to talk about something when you are built up, when you have all this energy because of something? Whereas for me, when I'm relaxed and I've calmed down in a way, I can talk about anything, even things that usually make me angry, sad, and stuff like that. So that's the value I see in the letting go, right? And again, we've seen this, it's not an easy thing to do, but with practice, I have to say it becomes easier, right? So when you realize you're feeling something, trying to understand it, and then letting it go, right? To see if you can move away from the feeling. That's the image that I find powerful for me to remember, right? What I'm feeling is real as long as I keep it, right? So I can let it go. I'm the one who can decide this, right? Balloons, right? This is my emotion, true, but I don't have to keep it. I can let it go, right? And let it go away so that you don't have to live with it, right? And make your life heavy. The how I connect letting go and the next one, right? Destructive emotions. The emotions that make our life more difficult than necessary, right? So it's called in a field of emotional intelligence, it's called destructive emotion. They destroy you little by little, or very quickly, very strongly, it depends, right, on the situation. But that's how I connect them. Because if you can let go of emotions, they don't become destructive. They are just emotions that you've had. And because you let them go, they don't build up and they don't make your life more difficult. And that's the interesting thing about destructive emotions. When you read about emotional intelligence, so it is literally what it says, right? Being smart with your emotions, right? Surprisingly, it's any emotion, positive, negative, right? The problem lies with the fact that we hold on to them, that we keep them. And if you think about it, it's not that crazy, right? My first example is about food, because I think we all can relate to food, right? So imagine today for lunch, you're going to have this delicious meal somewhere, right? And you keep that feeling, right, with you. And what happens is that next time you go to that restaurant, for instance, probably you will expect to have another delicious meal. And maybe the meal will not be as delicious as last time, so you will be disappointed because you had expectations, right? Or if you don't go back to this restaurant, you compare what you're eating now with the meal from that restaurant. And so you're not enjoying the meal you have now. So I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, that even positive emotions create expectations. And expectations tend to disappoint us, right? Because usually they're very high, and life isn't always, super perfect, right? It's sometimes a little here and a little here, or really low, right? So, but because we have this, we are disappointed. But imagine if you don't have it. The level doesn't matter, because then it's just the present. This is what is happening now. And this idea of just enjoying now, this is something we did in the first semester, right? Enjoying the moment, being in the moment, is something that seriously can make a big difference in how you enjoy life, right? And food is an easy example, but if you consider things that might be a bit more special, like a relationship, right? Oh, she always is blah, blah, blah. And then you meet with that person, and that day she isn't. So you're going to be disappointed because you expect her to be something, but she's not. And that can create tensions in relationships, right? Because food, it's us. It's not a big deal, right? But with other people, ooh, that can create, tension. I don't know how else to say it, right? Oh, what's wrong with her, and blah, blah, blah. So the person is like, well, I'm just, tired today, or I'm feeling sick, or I'm really concerned, or things like that. So it's interesting. Even positive emotions are not our friends, basically, because they create this expectation that something will be great or wonderful. And so for me, the idea behind this picture is going back to when we were children, basically, right? So these are my two nieces here, and this is their cousin, right? And they're looking inside the tree. There's a hole in the tree, and they're all looking. And this is what I think is wonderful about children, is that they have very little expectation, because everything is new, right, for them. So they kind of always discover things. And have you noticed how happy children are? I mean, seriously, right? I mean, unless they live in a bad family, children are happy and laughing, right? For nothing and everything, basically. And I think that's the thing that we lose as we grow up. Because with our experience, we either build up expectations from positive experiences or heavy feelings from negative experiences. And I think the magic of being a kid is that we don't have to deal with it, right? So if you can remember that, right, like finding that the child in you that is discovering everything new, right, that there is nothing you already expect or that already hurt you, right, and just enjoying life the way it is. So that's why I love this picture, and I thought that was also really cute. Because Anna is, you know, like the way she's holding on to her cousin, like, I'm going to be a bit careful here. What is this? Like, Louise is, you know, she's older, and so she's like, yeah, okay. But I just love the way Anna is holding on to her cousin to look, right? So it was a really sweet picture for me. So yeah, to summarize, right, destructive emotions are any emotions you hold on to. The positive ones usually create expectations, right? You hope, you expect for something, and then you are usually disappointed. And the negative ones, as we were talking about, they build up, they become heavier, they make you feel limited, right? And sometimes they even feel real, right? Like, when you've been stressed, even stress, it's usually created by something outside, but it's your reaction to it, right? We've talked about this. But if you can't control, right, your reaction, it's fine, you're stressed. But it's holding on to it that makes it real, like your heart beating fast, you know, sweaty hands, butterfly in the stomach. But if you look at it, stress is not something real, right? It's not like a chair that you can carry, right, or make. It's something we experience and then we keep with us or we don't, right? So that's another thing you need to maybe realize, right? We create most of the things that we feel. They're not real things around us. So that's why we have that power to let it go, right? It's not easy, but we have the power. So yes, that's why I said, but emotions become real when we let them become real. And usually it's by holding on to them, right? So, for me, another example that was especially helpful for me to understand is that when I was meditating at the beginning, I always got distracted because I was thinking, what do I need to do next? And something stupid like, oh, breakfast, you know, taking a shower, choosing my clothes, and it's like, this is so silly, why am I worried about this? It's easy, you know, it's what I usually do anyway, it's not like a difficult decision. And so I've actually got angry with myself. Why do you need to be peaceful, you need to be empty, you know? And so first I had to accept that this was something I was feeling, so needing to be unconditional, positive towards myself. Clearly, this is a problem, right? I keep thinking, what comes next, what comes next, what comes next? And I talked about it actually with my mom, and I realized I probably got the habit from her. My mom is always like this, like always planning next. And don't get me wrong, being organized is a good thing. But being organized and not enjoying now anymore was the problem for me, right? Because I was here in my bedroom just trying to meditate, relaxing, you know, and all that, but I kept thinking next. So first I needed to accept it, then I talked about it to try to understand it. And maybe you can guess, then it was easy to let it go. I was like, okay, that's who I am, that's what I do, and then it wasn't a problem anymore. I didn't do it when I was meditating. Sometimes it comes back, especially when I feel pressure. I notice that, like, ooh, what's next? But I'm better able to say, like, ooh, wait, no, I'm okay. I can let go. No, I don't want to stress about this, it's okay. So it's I realized I made the problem. Nobody else did, right? Because I was holding on to this, I need to be organizing or planning what's coming next. I created it. Then I could let it go too. And it wasn't something that was bothering me anymore, right? So a very interesting situation, right? When we keep thinking, oh, this is who I am, it's true. It's very true. But then it's easy to let it go when you realize it. And then it's not, if it was a problem, it's not a problem anymore, right? So keeping this in mind.